We have been doing a lot of coverage of the California high-speed rail issue. We want you to be as informed as possible about it. And I think maybe you can hear Phil Shuman. He is up in what we're calling ground zero near Hanford, California, in the town of Layton. A lot of folks have turned out because they want their opinions stated and heard, Phil.
That's right, Steve, but barring court action or some other unforeseen event, the high-speed rail is a reality, and ground is scheduled to be broken just north of here in the first quarter of next year. Now, we're staying in front of Ross Browning's home because if this goes through as planned, at least one of the possibilities, this retirement home that he's been in for about 6 years is going to be turned into a large pile of dirt. This is one of a number of farms and other agricultural properties that are going to be impacted by the high-speed rail as it connects from the Central Valley, at least planning to connect from the Central Valley to Los Angeles and San Fran, what they're calling the bookends. But a very real concern is when they build this initial section, whether there will be any money left over to connect it, or we'll have the proverbial train to nowhere. Let me bring in Ross Browning, who's been dealing with this issue from a real personal nature. You may lose your house.
A very, very distinct possibility.
And are you prepared for that?
Am I? I don't think you ever prepared for that. No.
You were saying earlier, Mr. Browning, that this is not what you thought, you and others thought they were voting for. What do you mean by that?
Absolutely not. Well, Prop 1A was very clear. High-speed rail, 220 miles an hour, electrified from San Francisco to Los Angeles. All the money in place to finish the whole thing, and no subsidies. And
that's not what's happening at this point. Diana Peggs with the Kings County Farm Bureau. What can you add to his voice and the voices of a lot of people who share his position?
Yeah, this is not what we voted for. They are targeting agricultural land arbitrarily, and they're doing that because they think it's the path of least resistance. They plan to carve up and destroy miles of the most prime productive land in the valley for a project that may never be completed.
And we've spent a lot of time on this story, obviously. Thank you. And we talked with Dan Richard, who's the chairman of the High-Speed Rail Authority, and also Jeff Morales, who's the CEO. And there is language in Proposition 1A that essentially gives the High-Speed Rail Authority discretion, and this is paraphrasing, to put the high-speed rail line wherever they think it is in the best interest of the High-Speed Rail Authority. Even though they say they're trying to minimize the impact, let's listen to Jeff Morales explain it.
The objectives are to first avoid impacts, and then to minimize and to mitigate. And that's what this process is about. And certainly where we can avoid impacts, we are doing everything we can, and we'll do everything to avoid those. And then where we can't avoid them entirely, we're going to work as well as we possibly can with the affected people to make sure that they're treated fairly and that their issues are addressed as fully as we possibly can.
That's what the High-Speed Rail Authority is saying, but the people here, many of them are saying that's not the reality. What does that mean for Southern California? Well, again, we're looking at least 10 years, Steve, before this Central Valley section is connected. The plan right now is to connect Bakersfield to Palmdale, then Palmdale to Los Angeles. Eventually, it will all be electrified. Again, keep in mind, we're talking about the largest public works project ever, $68 billion on the low end, and that's been revised down. And completed somewhere in the 2033 era. All that's funded right now is about $6 billion from the state and from the federal government. Steve?
Phil Shuman, those numbers are mind-boggling, and skeptic that I am, I keep repeating, I've never in my lifetime seen a large public works project that comes in anywhere near the figures that were stated earlier, years earlier. And then all the people behind it in the very beginning, and all the politicians are long gone by the time you find out how much it really costs.
Right. And the explanation as to where the rest of the money comes from is something we've gone over and over again with Dan Richard and others. And the basic theory is that once this initial section is built, that private money will come in and pay California for the privilege of investing in high-speed rail. But other financial experts that we've spoke with say that that just is not a reality in this economic climate.
But what is true is that most of these huge public works projects that happen, they're never fully funded in the very beginning. So that's not unusual. This is just the size and scope and the economy at this given moment makes it much more difficult. Phil Shuman up in Layton near Hanford, thank you very much. You can find out all of our information about the high-speed rail online. Log on to our website, myfoxla.com. Our high-speed rail section is right there on our home page.